Pallet forks, folks, that's what we're talking about today. We got them lined up here, some of what we offer. We have our VersaForks. You can see them on the 3-point hitch. Yeah, that's right, mounted on the back side of that tractor there, but they also mount to the front, so they can go on the loader or the 3-point. Here's the skid steer version of the same forks that go on the loader or the 3-point, and then we have some hydraulic forks. Love these things too. These are fancy, and they're actually relatively affordable, but you do need a third function in order to operate them. Now there's some considerations to make when you're looking to pick out a set of pallet forks, and we're gonna go through those today, tell you a lot of the different uses for them. But when folks are asking me, what do I need? What should I get with my tractor? Well, there's not many things that are universal, but pallet forks and ballast weight, they're on that short list. Okay, so considerations. What do you gotta think about when you're trying to get the right set of pallet forks? Number one is weight. You don't wanna buy a set of pallet forks. Now, when I say pallet forks, we're talking the 2 tines and a frame, all right? That's like a set. You get it all together. But weight, you gotta consider that, okay? If you get this set of hydraulic forks here and put them on this little 1025R, it's way too much physical weight. You're gonna barely be able to pick up anything with the loader after you put these heavy forks on here. That way, I think it's around 400 pounds. So they're just too big for that. Now, these VersaForks, these are designed to work on subcompact tractors and compact tractors. They have a 2,000 pound weight limit, or weight rating, okay? Now, a weight rating is not here. It's not here. When pallet fork tine manufacturers come up with a rating, it's normally either at 21 inches from the base or 24 inches out from the base, and you can see a 21-inch LC or load center, or a 24-inch LC for that kind of load center, so you got to bear that in mind. And the same thing goes for when you're lifting weight up. You can lift more weight here at the base of the forks when it's close to your tractor and close to your loader, but if you put all that same amount of weight out here, you may not lift it off the ground, or you may not lift it as high. So tuck your loads as close as you can to get the maximum capacity out of your loader. So that also kind of ties into what length of pallet fork tines do you need? You need 36, 42, 48, 60, 72. Well, most folks are gonna do fine with anywhere from 36 to 48 inch, all right? I will say on the subcompacts, like the 1025R or anything else similar to that, normally 36 or 42 inch are gonna be what you go with. It does keep the weight down. They cost a little bit less compared to 48 inch, but you really gotta worry about maximizing your lift capacity out of that. And you can still put 42 inch tines through a regular pallet just fine, okay? You're not gonna have any issue there. 36 inch you can as well. Now, if one of your primary purposes just happen to be stacking brush, for example, you know, maybe you'd want to go with the 42 inch tines just so you have more surface area to stack that brush. Weight really isn't a concern with brush, but if maybe your primary task is lifting, well, I don't know, just say attachments. Say you put a lot of your attachments on pallets and picking those up and moving them around. Well, I don't know, maybe you can get by with the 36. They'll still fit through a pallet, and you save some weight capacity. You know you're keeping your load as close to the base of the forks as you can, and so you're gonna have no issues there. Now, a bigger tractor, and this isn't even the biggest compact by any means, but it does lift well over 2,000 pounds. We've got the 60 inch tines on here. We have a ton of ballast weight in the back. Okay, and I'll get to ballast weight in a minute here as well, but you need that counterweight to really offset your load. But this gives us more versatility and flexibility. A larger machine, you can lift over 2,000 pounds. What's this go up to, Chris? Over 8 foot, maybe 8.5 foot lift height, something like that. So it'll lift a lot of weight. It'll lift it really high as well. But you know, the thing you gotta be careful with 60 inch tines, like in pallets or really a lot of loads, is you gotta be careful not to go too far, right? I've come close to damaging my pole barn walls because they're just so long and you don't really realize it. At our shop, we've had a guy poke through the building wall with pallet forks. I'd forgotten about that until I just, it came into my head. So anyway, you gotta be careful with longer tines. You know, we can also use these on our skid steer, okay? They're overrated. You know, I mean, they're gonna exceed anything that this tractor can do, but we can use these on our skid steer as well, so they cross over that way. They're both skid steer quick attach, so that's one of the nice things about if you do have a skid steer quick attach tractor, you know, you can cross it over. They're a little bit more universal that way. But that gets me to another topic is more and more folks, I like to think with the continued mention of it in our videos, get tractors that have loaders with quick attach systems on there, like the skid steer quick attach or the John Deere quick attach, either way. But there's still folks out there that have loaders that have pin buckets that don't have a quick attach system between their loader and their bucket, and so there's no quick way to take the bucket off and put pallet forks on. So that's where our VersaForks come in handy, because you can still put them on your 3-point hitch, or you can put them up to a quick hitch like this and still have a way to lift things off the ground and move them around. Beats not having an option. So you may be thinking, well, yeah, but I can get clamp-on pallet forks. There's a reason you don't see those here. There's a reason you don't see them on our website. And we partner with manufacturers that make clamp-on pallet forks, but we have so many folks, and we'll continue to have folks that upgrade to a real set of pallet forks from clamp-on forks because they're a headache, right? You know, you have some that have a crossbar that helps them stay in place on a bucket, but a lot of them are just individual tines that you're trying to keep straight. They're a pain to put on there and tighten down and get them to stay tight and not loosen up. You'll hear of folks that have bent the bottom of their bucket because they put the load out maybe towards the end where there was a lot of leverage, and then it bent their bucket as well. So there's a lot of downsides to the clamp-on pallet forks. They're the right solution for some folks. I'm not saying they're not, but there's enough negatives about them from our viewpoint that we don't even bother to carry them. Okay, so I mentioned ballast weight earlier. You got a big old set of forks on the front. Doesn't even have to be a big old set. It can be a smaller set. But once you put a load on there, most tractors these days, they're just not out of the gate, right out of the factory, not set up to have enough counterweight on the backside. And a lot of you new tractor owners out there don't realize that until you get into trouble. I'm gonna say it again, tractor accidents, farm rollovers, or tractor rollovers are the #1 cause of farm-related deaths in the US year in and year out. And so that's for a variety of reasons. The point being, tractors are dangerous, even to folks that are on them day in and day out. So if you're new to tractors, treat them with respect. Get yourself ballast weight. It's good for a lot of different reasons. We're sponsored by RimGuard. Can't even see it. It's inside there. That adds a lot of liquid ballast, which helps. It's out of the way, right? You don't even know it's there, and that helps keep you planted to the ground. Your front axle, okay, when you lift up with your pallet forks, your front axle is the fulcrum point. So everything wants to teeter-totter there. So you want to make sure you have more weight on the backside than you have on the front side at all times. There's no official ratio that I know of about that. If somebody has that, and I've been living under a rock, I'd love to know about it. But a lot of the manuals will have guides to tell you how much weight should be on the backside. So we've put liquid ballast in here, which I can't remember if maybe adds 600, 700 pounds, something like that. We've got a triple stack of wheel weights on here. Again, these are both nice because they are both kind of out of the way, not tying up anything on your 3-point hitch. That's one of the struggles with ballast weight, is lots of times you need to put something like a tool on your 3-point hitch, like a sprayer or something, but you need that weight if you have a bucket, a grapple, forks on the front to offset it. So you can see we have hitch hangers mounted on our Speedco quick hitch, 6 70-pound suitcase weights, a lot of extra weight right here. We still have a usable attachment on the 3-point hitch as well. So we are set up well, is what I'm getting at. It's an ideal setup, in my opinion. You're never going to get to your ballast weight goal with just one form, with just wheel weights, with just liquid ballast, with just 3-point weight. You got to use a combination of things to get there. I harp on this. I've made dedicated safety videos all about it because nobody else is. Okay, so I'm not going to have unnecessary accidents, deaths, injuries, things like that happening on my watch, and folks coming back to me and saying, why didn't you tell me any better? So now you know. Watch our other videos too. Just not trying to scare you, just trying to keep you safe, get you home at night. When you're thinking about tine length, sometimes you got to think about storage. You know, a lot of you are trying to store your equipment in some pretty tight spaces. So if you know, the 6 or 12 inches could make a difference there. But on the flip side, the longer tines are generally easier to see from a tractor cab. Shorter tines, doesn't really matter the brand of tractor. You got a lot of stuff in between here and here, all right? So it's just tough to see. The longer tines, whether it's 48 or 60, are gonna be easier to see. In a previous video, we spray painted the tips of the tines bright orange so that they kind of stick out when you're trying to look through everything. You can see where they're at. Or maybe even transporting on a trailer, tine length consideration could be a factor there too. If you you know, you can get creative and find ways to turn the forks around, take them completely off. On that note, let me show you right now. I'm gonna show you how to take one of these fork tines off, okay? Easy to do. Chris, show them this little slot right here. And it doesn't matter if it's these forks, pretty much all forks have the same general concept, but you have that slot in the bottom rail. And then what we're gonna do, well, you see the top rail? Show them the top rail here, Chris. See these slots, these little notches? That's where the pin kind of locks down in between. So we'll flip that spring up, okay? And you want to move as best you can the top and the bottom at the same time. Otherwise, it make your life easier, okay? So move them at the same time. And now, back a little bit. Here we go. We're right in that middle slot, okay? Now I'm just going to lift up on the end so you can see. Just like that. It'll come out that way, all right? So we can lift it right completely out. I'll lift it up and take it right off. Just like that, okay? Then we put it back on, boom, slide it where you want it. Kind of put it in there. Now it's not locked down, but we'll scoot this over. And it locked in place right down there and latched. That's all there is to it. Now the VersaForks, they do have the built-in 2-inch receiver. We added that. We've got the chain hooks on here so you can pull things along. If you have this mounted on the loader, or if you don't have a quick hitch, you can actually hang suitcase weights on here as well for additional ballast. Super handy if you're on the loader, because it's tough to get additional ballast on the loader if you're using like a heavy brush hog or you know, maybe a heavy tiller on the back too. So that's a nice feature to have. Now that's how you move manual tines, but you got to check this out. Let's show you how these hydraulic forks slide left and right. I'm doing all this with a push of a button right here. It's one of the nice things about having a third function. If you don't have an OEM one, you want to add a third function or a rear remote or top and tilt kit, go to Summit Hydraulics website. You can save 5% with code GWT. Do-it-yourself kits on there, okay? You'll save probably like 50% of the cost compared to having a dealer do it. You can knock it out in a couple of hours. Nice to have. Really nice. Speaking of that, look at all this Summit stuff on the back side here too. On our 1025R, this is a front and rear combo kit, okay? So this bottom circuit is fed up front, have a joystick right here to control a third function for a grapple, angle plow, pallet forks like that. And then these other 3 functions are for the back side. And so we have a top and a tilt kit, okay? So folks, those of you that have a top link, just comment about how handy that thing is. It's a game changer, okay? But then if you have, we showed you a hydraulic offset ditch bank, I should say, flail mower. The spring requires 2 remotes, hydraulically side shifts out here, hydraulically tilts up and down. So there's a lot of reasons that you might need these extra remotes on the back too, but super handy. Again, go to Summit Hydraulics website, 5% off with code GWT. Last thing to consider would be adding a grapple to your pallet forks. And yeah, you can actually do that. Again, you got to have the third function. Well, I guess you'd have to have a diverter or maybe run one of the rear remotes up front if you had the hydraulic forks. Well, no. Let me back that up. You would not want to move your pallet fork tines left or right, because how the added grapple works with the pallet forks is they actually slide over top of the tines, and then it clamps onto there, and then you hook up to your third function, and then it's a top jaw that clamps down on your pallet fork. So you would not want to hydraulically slide your tines left or right. They're going to stay stationary, so you could move them to the right spot and then unplug that line and then plug in the added grapple, so you'd be good to go. Yeah. See, we're just solving problems on the fly right now. So folks, there you go. One quick note. Pallet forks, you're going to hear folks say, and they might comment in this video too, they're great for digging things out, but they're really not designed to do that. So if you think about it, again, when you're digging something out, you're putting all that load on the very end, all right? So that's the weakest point for the loader, okay? But then you're trying to put all the maximum force, the weight of the machine behind it, the weight of the loader, the hydraulic force of the loader and capability of it, all right there on the very end of those fork tines. So plus they'll bend a little bit. All that stuff's gonna bend a little bit. So you're almost like charging a load if something were to release and give and pop, but there's a greater likelihood of something bending, whether it's a fork tine or a frame or hopefully not your loader. So I would not recommend using your pallet forks to dig. I know there's folks out there that do it. I do things I'm not supposed to as well sometimes, and we do it for video too, just to show you what could happen, what could go wrong. But that's just my word of advice. I know that we're not gonna warranty it if something were to happen like that. They're just not designed to do that. Now, we ship pallet forks and we ship tractor attachments of all kinds nationwide, every day of the week. That's all we do. So go to goodworkstractors.com to check out what we have to offer. If you're still not sure what you need, what's the right fit, no worries at all. Send us an email, just give us your tractor make, your tractor model. We may ask you a few follow-up questions, but we want to get you set up with the right tool the first time around, take the pain out of the process. And on that note, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to stop by, and until next time, stay safe. We'll see you soon.